My mom created a fun way for us to learn the most important rules of life. Yah's command.
With Yah's Big Ten Commands, we get to see His will's best for us.
Keep Yah first.
No graven images.
Don't take Yah's name in vain.
Remember Shabbat and keep it holy.
Honor your parents.
Do not kill.
Mr. and Mrs., don't cheat.
Don't steal.
Don't tell lies.
Don't covet.
This changes everything. Get your set of Yah's Big Ten Commands at Big Ten Designs today.
Even when I'm weak, your word sustains me. I can suffer long. Nothing can change me or take away my love of y'all. Into the future, leading answers so bad. It's hard to bear.
Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land.
Identity. We are bombarded by images of who we think we are every day of our lives. But some people don't think. They know. How about you? I didn't know my true identity, culture, heritage, or roots. As a Christian, I was told the only thing that mattered was my identity was found in Christ. But what about the Asian, Arab, Coptic, or European believer? Do they know their identity? Does it matter to them? How about you? This is who they tell us we are. This is what we know. But is it the truth? Take a journey with me as I share my story of faith and identity and discover why both life in the Savior and identity matters. Why our past, present and future hinges on the knowledge of our true identity. While all believers in the Messiah must wake up before it's too late. As the world gets darker, it is time for Yah's people to shine their light. Who you really are is one of the most important questions on earth. It's time you knew.
Israelite. Israelite. Israel. Israelite. Israelite. How to know your identity without losing your Savior. Israelite!
It's all consuming, but above the world, the wind and seas, you reach for me and lead me to the
Grace and peace, family. Grace and peace. Hope y'all are doing well tonight. I'm glad to have y'all in here. We're going to be talking more about this situation with the late Charlie Kirk. And yeah, y'all, I mean, it's like the news is just going and going. I mean, I think this is going to be in the headlines for quite a while. I think that we're going to see a lot of different things happen out of this. You know what I mean? We're going to see a lot of different things happen out of all of this that has transpired, and we're of course going to be covering it. You know, those of us on our various platforms, we're going to be covering it. We're going to be dealing with the situation because it's very relevant to where we as a people, where we're going. All of this is relevant. We know that we are living in perilous times. We've been saying it for quite some time. But as the days progress, the peril will become greater. You know, like the scripture that talks about the woman who is with child, right? And she's on the way to giving birth to that seed that has now been fully developed. Those birth pangs. And that's really what we're seeing happen in the culture. We're seeing the birth pangs because there's a changing of the guard. And this is all spiritual. And, you know, I find it so funny because many of us are living from one day to the next, just trying to do the will of our Father in heaven. You know what I'm saying? Just trying to be obedient to what he wants us to do to the best of our ability, seeking him in worship and in prayer, trying to get our hearts right. We don't have a nation at this point that we can call our own. You know, we're just trying to do the best that we can and have faith that he is going to carry us through. And when we see so many things happening to our people and we can only shake our head or try to intercede, try to pray and ask Yah to put a hedge of protection over us, what we don't see is that what we don't have in the physical, we have in the spiritual. You know, it reminds me of when the prophet Elijah sent out his assistant during a time where there was war against the people of Yah. And his assistant didn't have faith to see what Elijah could see. But what he was able to see once Elijah prayed that his eyes would be open is that the armies of Yah, the angels, that they covered the field, they covered the ground, and they were so great. They were bigger than any army any man could put together. So there's more that be with us than be with them. You understand what I'm saying? There's more that be with us than be with them. And what I mean by them, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against powers, principalities, and rulers in dark places and high places. And I just want us to be understanding that that's the position that believers should understand in this time period that we're going through. That's our heart's position. That, I was praying with my children earlier, and I'm going to share a little bit, before I get into this. I was praying with my children earlier, and, about all of the stuff that is going to happen and that is currently happening. And I was, petitioning the Father for a hedge of protection around not just my household, but all of Yah's people, both Hebrew and Gentile alike, spread to the four corners of the earth. And I had this in my spirit, this verse that popped up, and many of you have heard it, many of you know it, but it said, though 1,000 may fall on one side and 10,000 on your right, you will not be moved. And that popped up into my spirit, and I tell you, it blessed me so much. It just encouraged me that all we have to do is have faith and obedience, because our Father is fully in control. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and give a couple of shout outs to the Mishpachah that's in the building. And then I'm going to go ahead and start sharing about what we're going to be discussing a little bit tonight. Thanks for joining me once again. As always, grace and peace to my brother Timothy Davis in the building. Shout out to my mod and all my mods. Thank you so much for coming in as usual. I'm always blessed to have the family in the building. Teo Ministries, salama to you, my brothers. I hope y'all are doing well. I caught the tail end of your program the other day. Been very busy, so haven't caught everything, but I caught the tail end and on point. So much of what y'all was saying was on point, talking about this very situation with Charlie Kirk. So shout out to y'all. Brandon Higgins, salama, peace and blessings to you. Sister Lamara, peace and blessings. Thanks for coming in the building. Got Adrienne of Yasharel, peace and blessings to you as well. All right, we got Ninja Firewolf in the building. Peace and blessings, shalom, shalom unto you. Got Brother Jesse in the building. Peace and blessings to you. Brother Don P is in the building. Salama, peace and blessings to you. Warrior of Yah, grace and peace. Thanks for coming out tonight. Got Lisa Karoma. Shalom, children of the light. That's what I'm talking about. Hallelujah. Oh, wow. Sister Niyazaki, peace and blessings. It's been a minute. How you doing? Good to see you. Got General Warman in the building as well. Peace and blessings. Another sister, long time no see. Sister Lashana Marie, peace and blessings. Good to see you as always. And Phantom Warrior as well. Peace and blessings to you. All right, family. Thank y'all so much for joining. If you have not already done so, get those thumbs up, like, share. And if you have not subscribed, please do so. Please do so. We are, just over here. It's all about what Yahuwah wants for the family of Yah, faith, family, and the future of our community. That's really what it's about over here. What does he want from us at this time? He wants obedience and faith. So let's go ahead and move forward as tonight we discuss this HBCU'S that are under threat. I really wanted to come from the aspect, a couple of things that, I saw today. They're really kind of like, not just today, but they really kind of just sat heavy on me when it comes to this whole thing of this division among us, particularly of the Israelite stock. Now, I'm not talking about those who know that they're of the bloodline, but just Negroes in particular. You know what I'm saying? The so-called African-American community, not exclusively, because I'm sure it's not just us that wrestle with this, but there's such a divide when it comes to politics and when it comes to us understanding where each of us are, right? And I'm not saying that we're a monolith, but how we perceive information, how we perceive history, how we perceive current politics, and of course, how we perceive what we're willing to, what our price is, what I'm saying? What we're willing to invest in. Unfortunately, a lot of Black MAGA are, fit less within the category of Black conservatives and more within the category of the House Negro sellout. And this situation with Charlie Kirk has, of course, brought them out. And I want to dig into that really quickly because, you see, the thing is that, it wasn't too long ago where Charleston White, for example, he was on this brother Anton Daniels channel. And I don't know, have y'all heard of Anton Daniels? Do me a favor, put a 1 in the chat. I know many of y'all have heard of Charleston White. But if you've heard of Anton Daniels, he's a pretty popular YouTuber. He considers himself Black conservative. He has some views that I agree with, and he has some views that I 100% do not agree with. But if you've heard of him, okay, all right, I see 1 so far. Okay, Brother Jesse's heard of him. Okay. So Anton Daniels had Charleston White come on his channel about a couple weeks back, and he posted a short clip of it. He did the whole interview, but he showed a short clip of it. And in that clip, they were discussing the all-white towns and the Ozarks, right? I believe it's the Ozarks or Arkansas or wherever it is that they have their all-white town. And Charleston White is sitting there talking about how this is such a great thing that they have these all-white towns, right? And I say, if they want their all-white towns, that's fine. That's their business. But he goes on to basically say that Black people are the reason why they want to have their all-white towns and they need to get away from us. So Anton asked him, he's like, so do you think, how do you think they'll fare out there? Now, many of y'all know that they're actually, hurting a bit. They need government assistance. But I guess he didn't get the memo. So he was like, oh, they're doing amazing. They're gonna be doing excellent. They're just, they're gonna be building all kind of stuff up. And then he says the most coonish thing that one could possibly say. He said, he want to ask them if they're taking applications for him to be able to join the community. This is Charleston White. Anton Daniels just laughing about it. But he's like, man, I want to be there too. And, Phantom War, I think he thinks he's hilarious. I think he thinks he's hilarious. But he's like, I want to be there too. I want to go in their town, and when I'm listening to this exchange between these brothers, and I'm like, have we, is that what we become as a people? Is that what we as a people, I'm talking about, there's such a divide in our community that anything that is done that is negative and degenerate within the Black community, you're looking to lay them in a coffin for, right? You're like, no, there's no retribution. There's no forgiveness. Y'all ghetto, y'all ratchet. We got Black fatigue. But you can look past centuries of harmful, toxic, destructive things that have happened at the hands of white supremacists. And I'm not talking all white people, because not all white people are white supremacists. But you can look at those things that have happened at their hands, and you could be just in love with them. I just don't understand that thinking. That's how I feel, Brother Garth. Charleston is an agent of chaos. You could purport a love for the people and the organizations that have proven to you time and time again that they hate you. As a matter of fact, it was another one, Fresh and Fit. And they were also talking about white towns, white-only towns, and they work a lot alongside the white conservatives. And so one of the guys, I think Abe, I'm not sure which one it is, he also asked if he's allowed, if they can let him in their community. And the white guy told him flat out, we like you, but no, you're still Black. And so I don't understand. I really don't understand. It's just, I know. They name it Stockholm Syndrome. We talk about Stockholm Syndrome, but when you see it in real time, when you hear the mouth of so-called brothers and sisters who, will ignore not even historical, but current day bigotry and disrespect at the hands of these white supremacists. What's the dude from Django, Stephen? I mean, that's in real time. You're seeing that. And of course, it's no different when it comes to this situation with Charlie Kirk. So I'm not going to play a whole lot, but this one guy in particular, I think he represents a lot of the mindset of those people that we see in Black MAGA, and just make you want to just slap your forehead and go, bruh, really? Really though? So I'm gonna play the first video by him so y'all can understand where I'm coming from.
Just me, guys, but is everybody else taking this hard? I can't even go in the house like with my family. Like we had our own crisis. Like I am taking this hard because Charlie represents not just, he represents so much to the conservative movement. There's not a person they could have took from us that is more important besides maybe Trump or somebody like that. But that's how important that man is and has been. Just the way he died, doing what he loves, getting shot. For what? For what? What did he do? This is supposed to be America. This is not America. This is not the America I grew up in. It's not. The left has turned this.
I just had to pause right there. This man looked like he about 60, 55, 60, anywhere between 55 and 65 years old. Dude, what are you talking about? This is not the America that you grew up in. Like what America you grew up in? This is what I'm saying about the mental processes. I just don't understand. I also don't understand black patriotism at all. I really don't. But that's a whole nother conversation, because not everybody that, believes in the ideals of American society are coming from a place of coonery. Maybe it's from a lack of understanding and a lack of knowledge, because all they've been fed is messaging from the West. And they believe, just like they said that America is the greatest nation, that's what they believe because that's all they know. But what do you mean by this is not the America I grew up in? 50, 60 years ago was what? 1960? 1960 was around the civil rights movement. Right? I mean, I know, okay, 60 years ago technically was like 2020. Okay, so it's 2025. So with 1965, somewhere around there, around the height of the civil rights movement, around the height of the dogs being sicked on, the protesters, the water hoses being blasted. I mean, I'm really trying to understand, because I'm a older millennial, as they would call me, a zillennial, 80s baby. Shout out to the 80s babies. But that was a time period that was, in the 80s, it was less, I don't know. Yeah, that just stood out to me as weird. Let's continue. So he goes on to blame the left.
To scary place for people like me and others that just love our country, right? We're doing the best we can to love God, and Charlie was a man of God, man. The AmFest, he cannot be replaced, and they know this. That's why they came after him. That's why he picked Charlie. It's hard for me. I mean, I've never met him. That's how you know when you've impacted the world, when your death makes people who never met you break down like they're your best, like we were sat at the table together. It's a devastating day.
Yeah, it's really sad. I'm more sad at his sadness than anything. I'm like, really? And I'm not one, I want to make it very clear. I do not believe in the celebration of someone's passing, right? Life is a temporal thing. And every single one of us who came into this existence is going to have to stand before our Maker. And he's the final authority. But when I examine the record of one's life, did they bear fruit? That's what I asked last night. Did Charlie Kirk bear the fruit of the Spirit? Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, meekness, gentleness, self-control. Did he bear that in his life? Now, if you ask an evangelical, they're going to tell you automatically, yes, he did. But they're looking at it through the lens of their misunderstanding about what love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, meekness, gentleness, and self-control is. Because they're the dominant society, they don't understand the sufferings of others underneath them. They don't understand those who are boxed in the ghetto. They don't understand those who don't make $250,000, $100K. They don't understand those who do not look like them, because all they have been all their life is privileged. So Charlie Kirk cannot speak about the Bible out of one breath and then treat quote unquote black people like animals out of the next breath and still be considered to have been bearing the fruit of the Spirit. So I don't understand the mindset that these people have when they're talking about he was a man of so-called man of God. But let's listen in, because he's got a little bit more to say the next day. He got quite a few views on that video, quite a few. And I don't think he was used to having that many videos on views on his video. So the next day he gets even deeper with his sadness. Let's take a listen.
Dark cloud over this. There's a dark cloud over this nation. I woke up. There was a dark cloud over this. There's a dark cloud over this nation. I woke up encouraged. The verse I got was to be absent in the body is to be present with the Lord. And I was just in the presence, just praying this morning and meditating. And I think we're all taking this hard for a reason. There's a dark cloud over America, and I could barely sleep. Because we all realize that he's like us, and it could be any of us next, right? Any conservative voice, the big ones that are out in front, because they declared war on us yesterday. That's what they did. They've been declared war from the moment they shot at Donald Trump, but they didn't succeed. So I don't think it really set in. We got it. We understood it, what we were fighting against. But I think after the election, we all kind of took a breath and maybe hoped that with Trump in office, we were coming back to some normalcy. And so we kind of glanced over it, but I couldn't sleep. I don't know about you, but I think we all realize that this late nation is no longer safe for conservatives, and we have to stay in prayer. We have to pray. You have to get close to Jesus, and we have to continue the fight, because this nation is not the same.
Again, I'm perplexed. What do you mean by this nation is not the same? I just really don't understand. And, I'm not trying to be, over the top or anything. I'm really trying to understand what he's saying, because it's hard to understand the perspective of someone who looks like my people, who walks in the streets of America, who has had to get a job in America, who's had to go to the grocery store, who's had to drive his car, who's had to live in his neighborhood and engage in this society, and pretend like America has just been like, was it like the Andy Griffith Show? You notice there wasn't never no black people on the Andy Griffith Show? Nevertheless, like it's just hunky-dory. Like everything is just all good. You in a black body, everything is all good for you. America is is not safe anymore for conservatives. Well, what does that even mean? America's not been safe for anybody, especially not us. Especially not us. Nevertheless, I think that, again, it's troublesome when I see our people making statements like this, because I know that they are not authentic statements. They're not authentic statements, not on what's being said and not on the experiences of many of these people. But they want to do what most Black MAGA conservatives have done, which is to deny the realities of being Black in a hostile environment so that they are able to capitalize off of the white supremacists that follow them. And this is something that they've done for such a long time. And they see different Black conservatives able to become very influential and make lots of money doing it. So they almost got to, like, if you can't beat them, join them mentality. And that's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing a disingenuous. I'm not hearing a genuine thought coming from a lot of these people. So there's a young lady, though. Like I said, not everybody is in the same mindset for the same reason. Some people, this is all they've ever known, right? So there's a young lady here, and she is actually a member of the Turning Point USA chapter, okay? She's at a university, and they're interviewing her about what happened to him and what it meant to her. So let's take a look. Just make sure y'all can see that. Okay, good. Y'all can see it. My screen flipped and switched on me. So, all right, here we go.
He was always so sweet. He had a loving family, his wife Erica and his 2 kids who are both under 3 years old, and he left them. He's going to be remembered forever for always fighting for his beliefs and always fostering open communication.
Here at the school's Freedom Expression Tunnel, students are expressing their grief through art, painting murals like these flags, a cross, and for Charlie Kirk to rest in peace. For many, Kirk's death is personal.
I'm feeling very, very distraught, holding back a lot of tears earlier today. And right now it's very sad. Even though I didn't know him personally, ever get to meet him, it's still someone who, for my generation, looks up to as a conservative voice.
The NC State chapter has hundreds of members. Leaders say his death is fueling them to keep pushing forward.
This is going to be a big eye-opener, and that we are going to probably get more students coming into our organization.
I hope that they remember him as not only an influencer, but as somebody who actually deeply cared about what our country was going towards and how he wanted to help shape the country and shape our younger generation.
And the group is hosting a vigil for Kirk tomorrow night at the Tally Student Union.
So like I said, for the younger ones, I give them a little bit more, just a little bit more grace, because we have to remember that there's been a whole revisionist history that's been pushed on this last generation to anything that is considered quote unquote Black history is also considered quote unquote CRT, critical race theory. So there's a lot of, strategic operations put in place to shut down any semblance of our real history. It's considered divisive. We see everything that's going on with the African American Museum, and, they're having to, shut down a lot of the displays that they show that are too real. Now, I've been to the African American Museum several times, and I don't really think that there was much of anything in there that was just over the top. If you've been there, then you know that it's built into like 3 or 4 different levels. The top levels, they're talking about the artistry of Black people, jazz and music and all of the different legends, talk shows the next level is like sports and, all the athleticism among us. You get down to the bottom level, and then it's kind of like made like a slave ship in a way. And then they're showing different artifacts and showing different maps. They have the Negro land map there, but they took the 1747 version of the map, but without the words Negro land on it and Kingdom of Judah. They took it off, but the map itself is there. So it's a more modern version of the map. And I didn't necessarily see in, the several times that I've been there, anything that stood out that was just like talking about the real heinousness of what chattel slavery was. So anything that really shows and implicates America as the nation that it really is being contested. So the younger generation of quote unquote African Americans, they are without the understanding of how devastating it was for our ancestors. They're getting propaganda that's telling them that there's no difference between being black or being white. You just pull yourself up by your bootstraps and you can make it. And they're really believing that. It's a lot of good campaigning and marketing going on to cause this younger generation to really look at themselves, as someone put in the comment section just a minute ago, as though they also are white. And so therefore they're not dealing with the struggles of the common Negro, if you will. But, this was at a college campus that took place with that young lady. And, I'm reminded of a message that I share with my children today during school. And I didn't know, like I said, I went into prayer and I didn't know what was going to come up in our time of devotion. But after I came out of prayer and we got into our word, we read Proverbs. And so we got into the word in Proverbs 11. And y'all do know, of course, what today is, right? September 11th, right? Okay. So the day before September 11th, we have this huge crisis, very much akin to what we experienced, 24 years ago, right? Mass in the public's eyes, this mass traumatic event takes place. And then 24 years later, one day before 9/11, we have another one. So let's look at what the scriptures say, because as I said, that I don't rejoice in seeing anyone's passing being celebrated. But one of the things that I don't agree with at the same time is that when you are sharing observation about the evil in which somebody participated in their life, that is considered celebrating their passing, because you're not crying and weeping over them. And so I thought that some of the passages here and some of the verses in here in this passage, spoke very much to what we're seeing happen, right? So I'm going to go ahead and read from verse 1 to verse 11. A false balance is an abomination to Yahuwah, but a just weight is his delight. When pride comes, before I even go there, let's start right there. A false balance is abomination to Yahuwah, but a just weight is his delight. We look at America and see that there is definitely a false balance when it comes to the idea of quote unquote equality or even equity. There is definitely a false weight. And when it comes to anything that we deal with that is traumatic, like the execution of one of our Black bodies, the immediate response that we're told is to just forgive. Turn the other cheek and just forgive. But no one seems to want to deal with this scripture right here, that a false balance is an abomination to Yahuwah, but a just weight is his delight. He uses that word abomination. He abhors it. He abhors when people try to pretend like there's no indifference, there's no injustice that is happening. Because anytime we're dealing with what has happened in our community, we can't even process it before we're told to move on and forgive. But any one thing that happens over there in their community, and it's like you have them telling us, oh, how terrible it is. Then you have some of our people condemning each other and saying, how dare you say anything ill of the dead? No matter if the person who passed was evil towards one of us. It's an unjust weight, an unjust balance. And this is what we have in this Babylonian culture. So when pride comes, then comes shame. But with the lowly is wisdom. The integrity of the upright shall guide them, but the perverseness of transgressors shall destroy them. So the integrity of the upright is going to guide them, but the perverseness of the transgressor is going to do what? It's going to destroy them. Because you see, riches profit not in the day of wrath, but righteousness delivers from DEATH. Try not to say that word too much on the channel. So riches aren't profiting when it's your time to meet your maker. It's righteousness that's going to deliver you when it's your time to meet your maker. The righteousness of the perfect shall direct his way, but the wicked shall fall by his own wickedness. The wicked shall fall by his own wickedness. The righteousness of the upright shall deliver them, but transgressors shall be taken in their own naughtiness. Now, when a wicked man dies, his expectation shall perish, and the hope of unjust men also perishes. The righteous is delivered out of trouble, and the wicked come in his stead. An hypocrite with his mouth destroys his neighbor, but through knowledge shall the just be delivered. When it goes well with the righteous, the city rejoices. Now listen to this part, y'all. Listen to this, because this is also in the word. And when the wicked perish, there is shouting. When the wicked perish, there is shouting. So half the crowd is telling you that Charlie Kirk is a martyr. And the other half are telling you, no, that dude was wicked. And they're shouting. And people are like, oh, y'all need to stop. Y'all don't need to say anything because, you know, that's disrespectful. I'm reading the word. Because I'm not exactly sure how people anticipate or expect someone who has done evil toward them, and not just on an individual basis, but their voice carried power or their actions carried power to continue to harm a city, a nation. How do they expect someone? You know, I was listening to a commentator earlier, and they said, would Ben Shapiro be weeping if he was born during the time of Hitler? Would he be weeping over his demise? Would he be weeping over Hitler's demise? But the expectation is that when someone is evil towards us, we're supposed to be like, I couldn't sleep, y'all. I couldn't sleep last night. It was so hard. I'm crying, I'm weeping, really? Why do they do that to us? It's wrong. By the blessing of the upright, the city is exalted, but it is overthrown by the mouth of the wicked. What a verse to end on in verse 11. By the blessings of the upright, the city is exalted, but it is overthrown by the mouth of the wicked. You see, because you got people, they'll be saying stuff like, well, Nobody should be deleted because they said things and I didn't agree with them. And listen, I understand where you're coming from. But the reality is that words are violent. You know, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words could never hurt me. That's a lie. Words do hurt. Words hurt a lot. As a matter of fact, they know from a scientific point that verbal abuse lasts longer. The effects of verbal abuse last longer than the effects of physical abuse. This is not to give a pass to physical abuse at all, or any kind of abuse for that matter, but verbal abuse, it gets down to the soul. What it does is that it fractures the soul. So it's like when a soul has been fractured, it's the equivalent of taking a mirror off the wall, breaking it into, throwing it on the floor, breaks into a million pieces, and then you try to put that soul back together. That's what a fractured soul looks like. And that happens through the use of violent words. And one of the things that I think all of us should learn from this situation with Charlie Kirk is that our words have power. Our words have power. And so his words were violence. When he was deleted, his last words was he was segmenting mass shooting, which we're also going to talk about tonight. And he was trying to make some type of tie between mass shooting and he said gang violence. And we're going to talk about that tonight. But his words had power. He said some things that, as someone said, that's blood libel. They got him in a position where he was open to be taken out. So let's move on past that. If this is blessing y'all, do me a favor and get this like up. Because like I said, you got these people that are in our racial demographic, shedding tears, feeling bad, trying to make him into something that he's not. And then at the same time, the next day, we end up having a situation at the schools. So let's go ahead and watch this video about what's been going on with the HBCU'S. What's been going on with them today?
On alert and on pause, at least 6 historically Black colleges have halted activities after receiving potential threats against their campuses. The lockdown measures come in the wake of yesterday's shooting of Charlie Kirk, though officials have not linked any of those threats to that shooting. Our Alex Brochet joins us now with more. So what are we learning about the threats and the lockdowns and where it's taking place, Alex?
Yeah, Kira. So we're tracking now at least 7 of these HBCUs that have been under lockdown in the past 24 hours following that assassination of Charlie Kirk. That includes Alabama State, Hampton, Virginia State, Southern, Bethune-Cookman, Clark Atlanta, and also Spelman there in Atlanta. Now, some of these universities have already begun the process of lifting these lockdowns or shelter in places. Others have, like Southern, have actually extended those through the weekend. They've canceled classes through the weekend, which at this moment, that is the longest extension of this lockdown. But I can tell you that the FBI has released a statement. I don't know if we have a full screen of it, but it does say that the FBI takes these threats very seriously because it puts innocent people at risk. While we have no information to indicate a credible threat, we will continue to work with our local, state, and federal law enforcement partners to gather, share, and act upon threat information as it comes to our attention. But I can tell you that we've been in touch with a number of students, including some on the campus of Hampton. Our team has, and as you might imagine, Akira, I mean, this is really shaking a lot of these young students up. There's fear of uncertainty and also possible violence as this is yet another instance of their campuses being threatened.
And I see civil rights leader Reverend Al Sharpton responding to this as well. Alex saying political violence or acts of hate get us nowhere. We can march, we can debate, but we cannot cause physical harm to those we disagree with. Alex Brochet, thank you.
So, you know, many of us have asked this question. I know y'all have too. How does a white man who goes to a predominantly white state and speaks at a white university and is assassinated by a white man then trigger a response the next day for up to 11 HBCU'S to be threatened? How does that add up? How? And how do Black MAGA and Black evangelicals take this type of information? How do they take it? You know, from my observation, that anytime anything is done to us, they brush it over like it's nothing. But if we respond back and clap back, then they criticize that. They start talking about somebody being a leftist or a liberal or a feminist or, anything that they could do to distract themselves from dealing with the reality that something just happened to their people that needed to be responded to. How do 11 HBCUs have to go on high alert and shut their doors and close their doors when they had nothing to do with nothing? You know what I'm saying? Reprobate logic, reprobate math. You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous that this is what has happened that we had nothing to do with. Nothing at all. Our people don't engage in this type of stuff. I think we had one in oh man, it's been 20 years, more than 20 years. Y'all remember the DC shooter, right? Put a 1 in the chat for y'all who remember the DC shooter or sniper, the DC sniper. Put a 1 in the chat. Okay, if y'all remember that. Okay. How long ago was that, y'all? How long ago was the DC sniper? And wasn't we all shocked? We were all shocked. Even white folk were shocked. They're like, he's black? We were all shocked because that just is not what we do. It's been late 90s. Yeah, I think it was the late 90s. Probably like 99, 2000, somewhere around there. I think it was in the early 2000s. I'm pretty sure it was the early 2000s. But come on. It's been a long time. They say that this year alone, y'all, 2025, we got 3 more months in the Gregorian calendar. This year alone, there's been over 70 mass shootings. 70. Stephen Patrick showing y'all his age, y'all. It's good to be young. But you know what I'm saying? Faye Robinson, I lived in a white hood and they was like, huh? Right? We was all shocked because that's just not what we do. There's certain crimes that certain people groups commit. Oh, bro, I'm about to get on that in a minute. Yes, sir. You know what I'm saying? That's just not what we do. How we get dragged into this? So let's take a look at one more video on this whole lockdown thing with the colleges real quick. And then we're going to get on that. Because that's for real. This is how stuff is going, y'all.
several hours, the lockdown at Virginia State University has been lifted after they were one of several historically black colleges or universities across the country that received threats today. Thanks for joining us here at 5. I'm Janine Samuels.
And I'm Julie Bragg. Senior reporter Wayne Koval was the first journalist at the scene and talked to students and police about what happened.
At the main entrance to Virginia State University Thursday morning, police with long rifles survey the area and every car approaching. Throughout the morning, unmarked Virginia State Police SUVs arrive on the HBCU campus, as do Chesterfield County Police and Petersburg Police.
I'm a junior.
For Haley Robertson, the first sign there was a problem came as she walked into the classroom and read the note on the board.
It was like there was a threat to the campus and that they were on lockdown.
Her first thought, knowing of the 2 shootings in Colorado and Utah Wednesday?
Yeah, I was scared because at first I thought it was an active shooter.
Robertson and other students tell me after a short while, they began to feel safe in their classrooms.
I think the university did a great job at handling it, making sure we stayed updated, but not scaring us about what was going on. And I think the teachers did a really good job of keeping everything contained in the classroom, you know, continuing to teach the class and trying to make sure that we don't panic.
After we done our test, we just remained indoors. We didn't really leave until a police officer came to the door and told us that we were allowed to go.
All students, staff, and faculty were told in the alert that there was a threat to campus safety. In a statement to CBS 6, the university said multiple law enforcement agencies
actively investigating the credibility of the threat received earlier today.
For most of the morning, cars and trucks were turned around at the gate, with drivers told the campus was on lockdown. Mary Brown.
I graduated in 2018
and spent 30 years in the Army. The Chesterfield County resident drove past her alma mater, concerned for the students and her school. She wants students to know.
Don't feed into it. Go about what you stand for, and do not feed into the rhetoric. Know who you are and stand on that.
Chesterfield County Police Chief Frank Carter has this to say to the community.
We're eliminating any potential threats, and right now we're looking to be able to return to some sort of normalcy in the very near future.
By midday Thursday, 5 historically black colleges and universities around the country had gone on lockdown due to threats, including Hampton University, which has also canceled all classes and activities for Friday. VSU lifted their lockdown around 2:30. In Chesterfield County, Wayne Koval, CBS 6 News.
And you see the older sister's response, don't feed into it. You know, I know we always that type of people. We're always like having to be resilient, having to be strong. We don't sit there, you know, we don't have nothing to do with nothing, but it's always, y'all, look, gotta keep your head up, gotta be strong, keep it. But when something happens to them folk, they fall into pieces. Sis, what was this? There was a school pew recently, and I was shocked it was one of us too. Show me the article on that one. I ain't hear about that. Y'all heard about that? Show me the article. Wow. Had no idea that happened. But you understand what I'm saying? It's a lot, y'all. It's a lot that's happening. And so I don't understand the mind of our people when they act like they don't understand that we are collectively being targeted. I just don't understand that. Because y'all got to understand, like, again, they don't care about any of us. And I'm talking about those who want to blame us, the white supremacists that want to blame us for everything we ain't got nothing to do with. Nothing to do with. Like this woman here. Well, what she's saying. Trump made a video real quick about what happened. And he used aggressive language. And then it was another newscaster. He used aggressive language. And then this woman, she took it to another level. Let's pull it up real quick. Oh, stop. Oh, y'all, I'm going to show it to you now. Oh, boy, oh, boy. Oh, you see that? You see that right there? Jacoby, you see what they did right there? that made the account private. Oh, it was open. It was open earlier. Made the account private because of what she said. Let me tell you something. People have been locked up for less. You understand what I'm saying? They've been locked up for less. You can't make open threats to anybody on social media and that not be considered a crime. She made an open threat. She doubled down. She doubled down after making the open threat. She tried to rally them together and let them know that she wanted to see a public, a public, how do I say it? Not the pew-pew, but what happened to our ancestors. Okay? She wanted it public. And folk was warning her on TikTok, like, you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't say that type of stuff. She was like, oh no. Oh, I meant that. I stand 10 toes down on what I said. You could tell them exactly what I said. Within a few hours, I'm talking about, I pulled up her video around 7, 8 o'clock tonight. Now her account is private because of what she said. Y'all know we got to be careful on these platforms. But I'm telling you, for real, what she said, people have been arrested for less. They've been arrested for less. And here's the funny thing about it. Now, while they're targeting us, the suspect at large, y'all know they already released that, right? They already released what he looked like. So let's see what they got to say about the suspect at large.
Now the FBI is looking for the person who shot and killed conservative activist Charlie Kirk. The FBI just released this picture of a person of interest they say that they're looking for. Came down in the last few minutes.
And they say agents recovered the murder weapon. Kirk, a suburban Chicago native, was gunned down yesterday while debating college students on a Utah campus. Investigators say that the shooter looks to be college-aged and fired one shot with a high-powered rifle. They say he was on the roof of a building at Utah Valley University looking down at yesterday morning's event.
Investigators say the shooter jumped off the roof after he opened fire and ran into a neighborhood, and then he dropped the weapon in a wooded area. Police have not publicly identified him.
Our investigators have worked through those neighborhoods, contacting anybody they can with doorbell cameras, witnesses, and have thoroughly worked through those communities, trying to identify any leads. That was a new development overnight, working through the night, studying those cameras. So that's something that's new and that we're working through right now.
Charlie Kirk was an avid Cubs fan. Here he is at Wrigley Field just a few weeks ago with his wife, Erica, and his young daughter. Graduated from Wheeling.
I'm going to cut that part off because that's what they like to do whenever it's one of them, is they like to make the person very human. When it's one of us, it's always their life. They're just a total savage. Y'all remember what they did with Carmelo Anthony, that young man? As good of a life as he was living and holding, they demonized him. They villainized him on the media. So no, we're not going to talk about what he did with the wife and children. But the shooter doesn't look anything like us, right? Nothing like our people. So why are these HBCU'S being targeted? And why do we have our people defending the things that Charlie Kirk stood for? I'm trying to understand. I'm going to show you this guy. And I have some, a little pause about some of the stuff he says, but I'm going to show you what he says about this whole Charlie Kirk situation. And fair use again. Fair use. Thank you, Brother Timothy. Always keeping me on track with that.
Happy nor sad that a lot of people been asking me, hey, Rich, how you feel about Charlie Kirk being unalive? Man, we lost an American patriot. And I'm going to just say this. I'm not happy nor sad that Charlie Kirk lost his life. Really, I'm not. The issue that I'm having is the fact that in the United States of America, you can't engage in a debate about politics, about sociology, without folks ready to take your life. Just think about this. What was Charlie Kirk's entire purpose? He would have his tent, what is the name of his organization, the Turning Point, whatever. They would set up a tent at colleges, and they would engage in debates with students. And what would the students do? They would walk over there voluntarily. They would go over there to try to do what? Prove Charlie Kirk wrong. I seen Charlie Kirk debate black, white, short, tall, fat, skinny, Mexican, Asian, trans, lesbian, bisexual, gay, immigrant, whatever you call yourself. I watched him debate them all. At no point in time did he say we should exterminate all these people. I never seen him say that. Maybe he said it on a podcast or something, but from what I always saw, he was willing to engage in debate with other people. Whether he was right or wrong, it didn't matter. And that's the entire purpose. I went to college. I used to have to debate folks all the time and that I disagreed with, no matter if they was saying stuff with a racist mindset or not. You still had to be there to be able to clarify your point and be able to either prove them wrong or come to some type of understanding. So is that the world we live in? I follow a lot of black activists out here. You mean to tell me they deserve to have their life taken away because of what they're saying? Remember, Charlie Kirk didn't do nothing. He's not out here establishing policies. He's not out here committing mass unaliving. He ain't out here doing nothing. He just making his money from his business, and he engaged in the debate on college campuses. Now, somebody got to tell me what's wrong with that. You cannot silence people just because you disagree with what they say. I mean, you can go unalive them, but like, is that the world we want to live in where we just go unalive any and everybody? Somebody might want to unalive you because you saying some shit on TikTok. To me, it just doesn't make sense.
Now, the thing about what he's saying is if you read underneath the words, is that we as a people are so used to the verbal abuse of this nation that we're defending it. We're defending his right to be verbally abusive and attack us. Charlie Kirk's words were not without consequence. His words held a lot of weight with MAGA, a lot of weight. It stirred up the pot surrounding how they felt about themselves versus us. In much the same way that they wanted to, charge, well, they wanted to indict, and I do believe they did to some degree, whatever that means, Trump for January 6th. He could say, well, he was just sharing some ideas, some thoughts. What was the result of his ideas and his thoughts? Was it not them storming the Capitol? Them going on a rampage? Defecating in the building that they all love? Because they couldn't get their way on who won between Biden and Trump? Charlie Kirk's words were not without consequence. And this idea of, it was just a simple debate. No, it was not. I don't care if listen, I could talk to anybody regardless of who you are, what your beliefs are, right? Many of us can. Many of us engage in conversation with people we don't agree with all the time. And it's civil discourse. But when you have someone whose words, and Charlie Kirk was not in civil debates. I watched him. His debates and his tone was hostile. It was completely hostile. He said things that were 100% inappropriate to say to Black people in front of Black people's face while they're surrounded by a lot of white people. Rhetoric that could be used to bully them, both verbally and physically. He didn't have to say, take this person out. And the thing is that I just don't understand how we don't understand as a people that their words have abused us for a very long time. Might I take him back to A Birth of a Nation? That was a film production by the KKK that was shown in the White House that led to the first terrorist attack on America in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We know it as Black Wall Street, 1920. It was a film that set them off, a film that caused them to act out in the way that they did. This is why I say, vengeance is Yahuwah's. He will repay. I tell y'all every time, y'all know y'all my witness. I say, love yourselves without hating your enemies. Meaning, we don't have to hate other people to love ourselves. We need to be concentrating on rebuilding our people, our nation. You cannot use words that create and incite violence and call that simple debate. Let's look at Charlie Kirk's last words. Pull it up, y'all. Give me a minute. Because his words had power. And that's just the reality of it. Let's pull it back.
Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years?
Counting or not counting gang violence?
Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America? His response: counting or not counting gang violence. So whenever somebody says something, I like to go and look it up, weigh it against the reality of what they're saying. And this is just an AI overview. The question is, gang violence considered mass shooting? No, gang violence is generally not considered a mass shooting under most common definitions because mass shooting definitions often exclude incidents motivated by gang activity or organized crime. However, definitions vary and some broader definitions do include gang-related events if they result in multiple victims without a specific connection to the gang. So why gang violence is often excluded? Specific motivation. Many definitions of a mass shooting are focused on public, random acts of violence or those with motives like terrorism, hate, or general desire to kill. Gang violence is typically seen as targeted violence between rival groups or related to criminal activity rather than public or random attacks. So they're showing you there's a difference right there. If you're talking about one set versus the other set, you can't call that mass because it's about the intent. What was the point? Why did you pew pew? And then the overview, I felt like it fleshed it out a little bit more. But even the Rockefeller Institute of Government agrees. Let's look at the definition that they hold. A mass shooting is an incident of targeted violence carried out by one or more shooters at one or more public or populated locations. Multiple victims, both injuries and fatalities are associated with the attack, and both the victims and locations are chosen either at random or for their symbolic value. The event occurs within a single 24-hour period, though most attacks typically last only a few minutes. The motivation of the pew-pewing must not correlate with gang violence or targeted militant or terroristic activity. Do you think that Charlie Kirk did not know that? Do you think that he did not know that? Of course he knew that. But he gets up there and he tries to separate because he's trying to make a point. He wants to avoid the issue of mass shooting because he knows that stigma of mass shooting is by and large on white people. So he tries to redirect to so-called gang violence so that he could talk about quote unquote minorities. But there's just so much stuff that is, y'all, there's so much stuff that is underlined between all of this. And they want to give us the surfacey of it because they want us to believe the story as they position it, as they feed it to us. They want us to believe it so that we are going back and forth with them on their narratives. That's what they want us to do. They want us to go back and forth with their narratives. But we should be wise enough at this point in the game to understand that if they tell us something, then we need to side-eye it. We don't need to just take whatever story they present to us and just swallow it whole, because there's always a plan and a motivation behind what they put out on the surface. So it was when I came across this information from the Times of India. The pew-pewing of Charlie Kirk, a mysterious book on Trump allies' deletion or unaliving, surfaces online, published the day before the attack. I'm going to stop right there. Put a 1 in the chat if you heard about this. Put a 1 in the chat if you heard about this. A mysterious book surfacing, published 1 day before the attack. See what I'm saying? We can't, Jewel heard about it. We can't believe everything that they tell us. We have to give it a side eye. Let's continue reading. Shout out to Brother Calvin in the building. It's been a long time, my brother, since I've seen you. Hope you're doing well. The book is called The Pew-Pewing of Charlie Kirk by Anastasia J. Casey. Charlie Kirk, a prominent conservative activist and close ally of U.S. President Donald Trump, was fatally pew-pewed Thursday while speaking at Utah Valley University. As law enforcement continues its manhunt for the suspect, an odd development has added to the confusion. Screenshots circulating online show a book titled The Shooting or The Pew-Pewing of Charlie Kirk, a comprehensive account of the Utah Valley University attack, the aftermath, and America's response, credited to an author named Anastasia J. Casey. Okay, now let me continue. According to the screenshots, the listed publication date was September 9th, 1 day before the pewing. The listing was allegedly visible on Amazon briefly before being removed, and I checked. It was. The images of the cover, title, and date quickly spread across X, fueling speculation about foreknowledge or a cover-up. Help me make sense of this. This book is published on September 9th, 2025. The Pew-Pewing of Charlie Kirk, a comprehensive account of the Utah Valley University attack, the aftermath, and America's response ebook. Okay? Can someone investigate this, perhaps? It's now pulled from Amazon online listing. Who is Anastasia Casey? Regardless of the credibility of the 9.9 published day, how did this book get out so quick? One user wrote. Another post read, but check this out. Another book published today? How the H can you get a book published and up for sale in such a short time? Some users drew comparisons to past events. A book titled The Pew-Pewing of Charlie Kirk by Anastasia J. Casey has appeared on Amazon with a publication date of September 9th. And you can see it right here, right there in the purple. I'll open it up a little bit more for those of y'all here that can see it. You see that date? Let me see if I can go down some. Right there. September 9th, Kindle. You know what I'm saying? What sense does this make? Explain that one to me. Somebody explain it. Because that wasn't the only one. Here's another one. Here's another one.
for a book to really get published. So for somebody who writes books, how long does it take for a book to really get published? So here I am scrolling, and then I come across this on Amazon. This shit just happened 24 hours ago. How in the hell did this get published that fast? Wait, because there are physical copies as well. I was just super curious, and it got published today. But again, this event just happened 24 hours ago. How the fuck is this even possible? And I mean, I know that this book is talking about yesterday because here's the overview speaking about yesterday. Again, there are physical copies. So for anybody who writes books, publishes books, does publications, whatever the hell, I just want a little clarity because this shit is scary. Very scary. I mean, they say if something ever happened to you, your job is posted. I mean, just like that. But damn, a whole book already? I'm starting to believe this might have been staged.
Okay. That's what I said. We you know, whatever they put out as the initial story. You gotta ask what are they going for? What is really going on? The day after this happens to him, HBCU'S are targeted. But let's take a look at what happened at the event. Pull this up real quick. So this is circulating as well. Many of y'all have already seen it, but for those of you who have not, the men standing behind Charlie Kirk. Watch what they do.
How many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years?
Counting or not counting gang violence?
Great. How many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years?
Counting or not counting gang violence?
Great.
Y'all see? There's a glitch in the system. So much be staged, we have no idea. So how, again, the day after this happens, 11 HBCUs got to be under watch, got to shut their doors. But folk in the back wearing black and white, giving hand signs, hand signals. Again, like I started out saying, we are in perilous times. This is not the time for us to be foolish, but the time for us to be prudent. The time for us to be prayerful. I'm telling you, please do not look at this as entertainment. This is a warning. And we all need to be covered. You know, my husband was talking to me. He woke up early in the morning. And Yahuwah had laid on his heart that we really, as a people, need to get back to binding and loosing. Binding and loosing. We have forgotten certain things, or we don't really deal with certain things that we once understood and knew. But we need to get back to binding and loosing, because binding and loosing breaks the yoke. You understand what I'm saying? Binding and loosing is what Yahushua told the disciples to do. We're going to pull it up in Matthew 16 real quick. Matthew 16. I'm getting ready to close out in a minute, but I felt like it was important to share this. It's important for us to understand that as believers, we have authority. We have authority in the earth. Trying to remember the exact verse. All right. So let's start here. This is a conversation between Yahusha and Simon Peter asking, who do men say that I am? And then Simon Peter answered, you're the Messiah, the Son of the living Elohim. Yahusha replied, blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for this was not revealed to you by flesh and blood, but by my Father in heaven. And I tell you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overcome it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom. Y'all hear that? Verse 19. I will give you the keys of the kingdom. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Again, whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. We need to start binding up demonic interference. We need to start binding up the spirit of infirmity and call out the different diseases that are plaguing you and your family. Call out the fiery darts that are attacking you and your loved ones. Bind them up. Put that cord around it. Do not allow it to just go off in your life. Sometimes we act like, so helpless to everything that is happening to us. But he said he gives us power to trample on snakes and scorpions. And my question is, do we believe that? In this day and time, I promise you that we better start believing that he gives us power to trample on snakes and scorpions. We need to begin to take up our precious authority as believers and begin to use prayer as the weapon that it is. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty in Yahuwah to the pulling down of strongholds. We are dealing with mass psychosis, mass witchcraft, mass sorcery that is being played on the entire earth. This is not a child's game. I'm telling y'all, it is time for y'all's people to stand up in our rightful authority as the soldiers that we're called to be in the spirit. I told you about Elijah, and he said, listen, you need to understand that there are more with us than there are with them. He asked Yahuwah to open up his eyes so he could see. See, he had enough faith to stand that the armies of Yahuwah were with him. And I'm saying right now that it is time that we start taking up our precious authority, because we need to understand that this is a spiritual battle that we're facing. You see, so many people are perplexed about what is going on because they are not born of the spirit. So they're looking to the letter, which kills, but it's the spirit that gives life. And the spirit is the one that is speaking expressly through us. He is helping us to understand how we are to navigate, not to go to the left or to the right. He will say, which way? You'll say, which way? And he said, I will lead you. I will show you the straight path. I will show you. I will make crooked paths straight. And you want to know what the paths are in your life that you're supposed to be making. And I'm telling you that the first place starts when we go before our Father, take prayer seriously, listen for his voice, and follow and obey his instructions. Y'all remember, like in the movie Minority Report? Do you remember in the movie Minority Report? Do you remember when Tom Cruise's character was with the girl and she was holding him and she said, move right here, stop. Okay, move again over here, stop. Hold on, hold it, move now. Okay, open that umbrella. Do you understand? That scene in that movie was an example of how those of us who are born of the Spirit should be listening to the Ruach, that he's leading and guiding us. He's giving us revelation so that we can walk in these perilous times and that we would not have to be overtaken by this world, but we can walk circumspectly and he will protect us and he will guide us. But if you're not praying, you might be listening to my voice, but if you're not praying and cutting all of this off, you can't hear how he's trying to lead and guide you and your family. And I know sometimes I'm not going to sit here and fake the funk and act like, oh, when we pray, the answer comes automatic. The answer doesn't always come automatic. And sometimes, can I tell you what I've learned about the Ruach? Sometimes the Most High does not bring the answer right away, because if he did, you would expose the plan to the enemy. Do you hear what I said to you? I said that if he gave you that word at that very moment, you would have given the plans away. Loose lips sink ships. He knew you weren't prepared for that. He knew you were too immature for that deposit, that information. And you would have hurt yourself if you had that information. Just like when our children ask us, can you tell me about this? And we're like, nah, baby, you ain't ready for it yet. You ain't ready for that information just yet. You don't need that information yet. You're not prepared for it just yet. When the Most High is not answering you on a matter, it's to protect you. Do you understand? That doesn't mean he's not going to give you the answer. He's ordering your steps. He orders the steps of the righteous. So I'm saying we have to get to a point and a place, y'all, where we start to really buckle down. We are supposed to be disciples. The root word of discipline is disciple. We are supposed to act like one who is being disciplined and trained. Don't tell me you believe in Ezekiel 37 and the two sticks coming together if you're not acting like a soldier ready for battle in prayer. Because it's an army that rises up in Ezekiel 37. The times that we're living in, y'all, require a certain kind of believer. The times that we're living in require a certain type of believer who's going to stand on business. The weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty in Yahuwah to the pulling down of strongholds. And I just felt the Ruach wanted me to share that, not just y'all, to encourage y'all, to encourage me, to encourage all of us, spread to the four corners of the earth, because it's a lot of sorcery going on. It's a lot of sorcery that's happening. And we know who we are. He's revealed unto us who we are. Do y'all understand that he didn't have to do that? He could have left us in darkness and blindness, groping. He could have left us ignorant of the knowledge of ourself, of our identity, of who we are as the Yahudim. He could have done that. But he loves us with an everlasting love, y'all. And he's calling us and raising us up for such a time as this. Every single one of y'all who got an autographed copy of my book, you got that message in my book. I said a few more words and I ended every single one of your statements, every single one of what I said to you, for such a time as this. That's the time we're living in. Y'all know when Esther had to go before King Ahasuerus, King Xerxes, and other pronunciations, and she had to plead with Yahuwah before she went, in sackcloth and ashes, in humility, and in boldness she went before the king, because Mordecai told her, yeah, you can go on and live your life in your nice little mansion. Yahuwah will raise up someone if you don't answer the call. But how do you know that he's not raising you up for such a time as this? You're not as weak as you think you are. None of us are. We're called according to his purpose. He got us, fam. He got us. So I hope that y'all are encouraged tonight in spite of everything that is happening. We got to walk by the Spirit in this day and age. Let us walk circumspectly. Let us be mindful of the company that we keep. Let us not walk as those who are foolish, but as those who are wise. I'm going to go ahead and give a shout out to my brother Eric. Thank you so much for your gift. Brother Eric, man, it's been a minute. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well. I hope all is right in your world. And if it's not, my brother, I know that you're standing on business, you're standing on truth, and I pray Yahuwah will give you increase in all that you do. Thank you so much for your support. I appreciate you. Thank y'all for those of you who continue to support the work over here on this platform. Continue to get that work out there in that book form, Israelite, How to Know Your Identity Without Losing Your Savior. Get it out. Give it to a friend. Give it to a coworker. Give it to somebody who needs to know the truth. Invest in someone. You know what I'm saying? Invest in someone, because we are at that time where we got to be willing to stand on business, no matter the cost. All right, family. So I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here. Yahuwah willing, I'll be back soon. And pray for me as I pray for y'all. And as always, family, love yourselves without hating your enemies. And a real quick shout out to Sister S. Dowdy. I don't get to thank you on PayPal, but thank you very much for your gift as well. I really appreciate you. Thank you, sis. So as always, family, love yourselves without hating your enemies. And until next time, y'all bless and salam.